Okay guys, so in this video we're going to have a look at some different styles of Azot wads. We have obviously the Azot wads right here, the new Canadian made clone of it, or the clone of the original Italian Guandi wad. I have no idea how to pronounce that, word, but anyway, this is the FT12. This is the main focus of the video. And Jeff at Mouse actually sent us these, along with these Goodell 12 gauge hybrid slugs attached to the FT12 wad. Yeah, we're going to be doing a range video on these to see how they do for us. We'll group some of them. We'll fire some at the 110-yard plate and see if they're any accurate at 100. And then we'll try to recover some of these. I'm pretty sure we can. And see what the wad looks like, how it held up, all that stuff. But if you don't know what the Azot wads are, or this style of wad, they are tail wads. I've said the word wad so many times. But anyway, you attach certain kinds of slugs to the tail wad here, and it keeps them stable in flight, helps them be a little bit more accurate. This creates drag. It is a very, very nice wad for a lot of different kinds of slugs. I could be wrong about this, but I believe over in Russia they're not allowed to own rifled barrel shotguns, so they're pretty much stuck with smoothbore. So, going off Italian, technology here, they've come up with this Azot, and, well, they've figured out a way to get rifle barrel accuracy with a smoothbore using this tail wad right here. I keep knocking that thing around, creating a whole bunch of noise. Anyway, the original design, I believe, was created in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. Again, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. I don't want to be putting out false information, but it's kind of hard to find info on where these things actually originated from, but I believe it was Italy, and Guandi actually made them. But anyway, anytime you guys see us using Azot slugs, we are using this little red one right here. I cannot remember who sent us these, but thank you, whoever it was. If you're watching this, please leave us a comment. One of my cats is meowing at me in the background, if you guys can hear that. But Jeff also sent along one of these clear Azot wads. They're not really clear, they're kind of white. But anyway, this is an Azot wad, just like the red one, except it's not red. So we'll be comparing these two wads right here, the FT12 with the clear/white Azot, and seeing what the exact differences are. There is one big difference that I'll touch on first. Okay, so I have a towel out here now because I realized it was very hard to see these on the glass. But anyway, the FT12 here, actually, the main difference between it and the Azot is it has a shallower powder reservoir. Come to find out, that's what they're called. I've been calling it the gas cup for a while. I believe that's also correct, but we'll just call it the powder reservoir for the sake of the video, because that's what the person behind the FT12s calls it on the website. TATV Canada, I believe. Yeah, that's it. That's the company, I think. I don't know. Anyway, the FT12, I can't show you me messing with the powder in this right here for obvious, very stupid reasons. But this holds upside down like this, not inside of a shell, exactly 15.2 grains of long shot, which is a very dense ball powder. It's 15.2 grains flush with the end of the top of the powder reservoir. And as for the actual Azot wad here, it holds nearly 22 grains of long shot. So that is quite a sizable difference in volume. If you're using powders like long shot, HS6, WSF, even an older powder called HS7, Win 572, there's quite a number of ball powders. The volume that you need of the powder is less than the volume of the powder reservoir right here when it's sitting down inside of a shell with the base wad. the tail of the wad right here, basically the bottom of the wad, it sits actually sort of on top of the base wad. I'm trying to make this as easy to understand as I can, but you end up with empty space inside this is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, you end up using a little bit more powder than you really need to get the same velocity and to take up any empty space. This right here, again, has a less deep powder reservoir. You can get by with less powder for the same performance. It saves you powder, which in turn saves you money in the long run. But you can just use an over-powder wad like a nitro card or a gas seal, something like that, to put under this, and that solves the excess room for ball powders that you would have with the Azot. Now, if you're using powders like Blue Dot, Alliance Steel, things like that, much larger, less dense, bigger flake powder, they are fine with the Azot. They don't need any sort of over-powder, nitro card, anything like that. Those are fine. They take up a lot more room. They actually fill up the empty space. Something a lot of people do with these is they will use a BPGS gas seal or the X12X gas seal or the Obturator 12 gas seal underneath this, and that does two things with ball powders. It solves, again, the empty space issue, and it brings up stack height for a better roll. That way you're not having such a deep roll crimp. And believe it or not, yes, really deep roll crimps can and do affect pressure. Ballistic Products actually has a chart they put out recently testing, pressure testing, with different roll crimp depths, and as you would expect, the deeper you go, the higher the pressure you get. And I've seen a lot of people claim that roll crimps don't affect pressure at all. A roll is a roll. It doesn't matter if it's really deep. Well, that's not really true. Yes, roll crimps provide less pressure than fold crimps do, to an extent. If you have a standard fold crimp and a standard roll crimp, yes, if you have the exact same data in the shell, then generally, yes, the roll crimp will provide less pressure. Or if you take the identical same load and put it in the same shell, fold crimp it, and then you try to roll crimp the other one, and you end up with a really deep roll, well, then the roll crimp shell might actually have a little bit more pressure than the fold crimped one. But anyway, tangent aside, let's actually start measuring the differences between these two. I know there are a few more differences other than the powder reservoir volume, but yeah, let's check it out. Get this thing out of here. Starting with the FT12, I want to measure how tall it is in comparison to the Azot here. Looks like for the FT12, we have a length of 1.3485 inches. Go figure, it's exactly the same, 1.3485. The powder reservoir depth on the FT12 is 0.2785 inches. Check out the Azot wad now. And for the Azot, we have 0.3665. That's actually a lot more of a difference than I thought there would be. The grooves you see on top of the FT12 here that actually grip the inside of the slug, well, those are measuring 0.5085 of an inch. There we go, now it's in focus. Now, let's compare that to the Azot. I believe the guy behind the FT12 said that he made those bigger to help stay onto the slug. But let's check the Azot wad out now. It seems that's actually true. The Azot measured 0.5030. Not a whole lot of difference, but when you're talking about something that small, it is a lot of difference. Measuring the outside diameter of the bottom of the FT12 wad, it is 0.727. That is very, very close to 12 gauge bore diameter. Now let's measure the Azot. Sorry for the white balance issues in this video, guys. It's hard to film with only one hand, and using a tripod out here is very difficult. But the Azot is 0.7235, which is smaller than the FT12. The FT12, in theory, should have a better gas seal than the Azot. I measured the Azot wad here again, and we got the same result. And then I measured the red one over here, and it's actually longer. And this one measures 1.3670, which is actually a pretty big difference. The red one is actually quite a bit taller than the other two. The part of the Azot that actually grips the inside of the slug this time is measuring 0.5015. Now, this right here is actually quite a bit smaller, the red one, and it measures 0.4665. That's actually, again, quite a bit smaller. That actually would have a good chance of falling off the slug. And the red one has a gas seal measurement of 0.724 of an inch. So, yeah, the red one is probably not as good as either one of the other two. That's just my opinion, though. This actually might be an original Guandi. It might not be an Azot wad. I don't know. One more difference I found. This is the FT12. The base of the wad, where the bottom of the slug would sit, is 0.880, and the Azot is 0.960. Sorry guys, but there you go. There are visual differences too. The FT12 is here on the left. It is actually noticeably more translucent than the Azot is. It's lighter in color, more clear. And if we look at the top of it, where the slug actually sits over this stem, for lack of a better term, the rings that actually grip the inside of the slug are more pronounced and look to be more well defined than the ones on the Azot. The Azot is kind of droopy by comparison. The FT12, the center of it is just a circle, it's just a hole through it, whereas the Azot actually has ridges. Well, the bottom one is a ridge. I don't know, it looks like an upside down set of binoculars, maybe a rangefinder that would also break your nose at the same time. I don't know. Other than that, I'm not really seeing any other differences. And for what it's worth, the red one actually has the same shape in the middle of it. However, it is solid, although very, very thin. You can see my finger through it. So again, I want to give a big thanks to Jeff at Tau Fighter Mouse for sending us these. He wants to see us do a range video on the FT12 wads. And for the slug, again, it is the Goodell hybrid slug. In 12 gauge, it's a 525 grain, basically ounce and a quarter slug. And these will be propelled to about 1400 FPS. Talking about the slug for a second, this is a very cool design to me. It's a good looking slug. It is powder coated copper, although some of it did get dinged up a little bit in shipping. But I'm sure whenever you guys get these from Ryan Goodell, he will they'll arrive much cleaner. Just keep in mind that these have been shipped at least twice. Anyway, I hope you guys found this interesting. I just wanted to show the differences between the Azot and the FT12, and I figured why not throw in this one here too. I'm not sure exactly what this one is, but anyway, expect a range video with the FT12 wad in combination with the Goodell 12 gauge hybrid slug. Again, it weighs about an ounce and a quarter. So that should be pretty fun, but guys, I'm going to end this one here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.